You really forgot?
Sorry, Elena. I've been busy.
Busy enough to forget the woman who stood beside you when you had nothing?
Marcus looked away, and that was the moment Elena realized something was terribly wrong. For 12 years, Elena Reed had known her husband's habits better than anyone. She knew he drank his coffee black when he was worried. She knew he loosened his tie whenever he was angry. She knew that when he became unusually quiet, something important was happening behind that calm face. But on their 12th wedding anniversary, Marcus had become a stranger. He had left their Chicago penthouse before sunrise without saying much. No flowers, no card, no kiss, not even a reminder. Elena had tried to convince herself that it meant nothing. Marcus Reed was 42, the founder and CEO of Reed Horizon Technologies, a company valued at nearly $2 billion. His face appeared in business magazines. His name was attached to scholarships, technology conferences, and charitable foundations. People called him brilliant, relentless, self-made, but Elena remembered him before the money. She remembered a 30-year-old Marcus sitting at her tiny kitchen table with a broken laptop and $12 in his checking account. She remembered working double shifts at a medical billing office while he built his first software prototype. She remembered telling him, "You don't need to be rich for me to believe in you." And Marcus had never forgotten those words. At least, that was what Elena believed. That morning, she had made him breakfast. He barely touched it. "I've got a board meeting," he said. "Today?" "Yes." Elena watched him button his navy suit jacket. "Marcus, what day is it?" He paused. For half a second, she thought she saw something in his eyes. Then he shrugged. "Wednesday." Elena forced a small laugh. "You know what I mean. I've got a lot on my mind, Elena." He kissed her forehead and walked away. She stood in the kitchen long after the front door closed. Wednesday. Their anniversary was Wednesday. She had planned everything anyway. That afternoon, Elena visited the restaurant where they had celebrated their first anniversary. She had reserved the private room months earlier. She had ordered the same lemon cake they had eaten 12 years ago. She had even found an old photograph from their wedding day and placed it inside a small silver frame. She wasn't expecting diamonds. She wasn't expecting a new car. She wasn't expecting some extravagant billionaire celebration. She only wanted Marcus to remember. But when he came home at 9:47 that night, his expression was tired and distant. He removed his coat. Long day. Elena looked at the clock. Very. He noticed the dining table. 2 plates, candles, a bottle of wine. His eyes moved toward the framed wedding photograph. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Marcus said something that broke Elena's heart. "You didn't have to do all this." Elena swallowed. "I wanted to." He nodded. "I'm sorry, I forgot." She stared at him. "You forgot?" Marcus lowered his eyes. "Yes." She waited. Maybe he would laugh. Maybe he would pull her into his arms and reveal that this was some ridiculous joke. He didn't. Elena slowly removed the earrings she had bought specifically for the evening. "I see." Marcus walked toward her. "Elena." "No." She held up one hand. "Don't explain it." She turned toward the window. The Chicago skyline glittered beneath them, thousands of lights reflecting against the glass. Marcus stood behind her. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't, because the truth was, he hadn't forgotten. He had spent the entire day pretending he had, and there was a reason Elena would discover before the night was over. Marcus finally walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Elena remained by the window. Her eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She had cried enough in her life, not because she was weak, because she had spent years carrying other people's pain. Her mother's illness, her younger brother's struggles, Marcus's early failures. She had always been the person who stayed. But tonight, for the first time, Elena wondered what would happen if she stopped. She picked up her phone and called her younger brother, Daniel. "Are you awake?" Daniel laughed. "It's almost 10. Of course I'm awake." "You sound strange. What happened? Elena hesitated. Marcus forgot our anniversary. The laughter disappeared. He forgot? Yes. That's not like him. I know. Daniel became quiet. Then he asked, "Did you see what he was doing today?" No. Then maybe you should. Elena frowned. What does that mean? Daniel sighed. Nothing. Just don't make any decisions tonight. The call ended. Elena stared at her phone. Why had Daniel said that? And why had Marcus looked so uncomfortable when he saw the photograph? Something wasn't adding up. If you're already wondering what Marcus was hiding, stay with this story, because what Elena discovered next changed far more than one anniversary. The next morning, Elena woke before Marcus. His side of the bed was empty. She walked downstairs and found his office door slightly open. Marcus rarely left it open. Inside, his desk was covered with documents. Elena wasn't looking for anything. At least, that's what she told herself. Then she noticed an envelope. Her name was written across the front. Elena. She froze. Before she could touch it, Marcus entered the room. Why are you in here? His voice was sharper than she had ever heard it. Elena stepped backward. I saw the envelope. Marcus looked at it, then at her. It's nothing. Then why is my name on it? He picked it up. It's personal. Elena crossed her arms. Everything between us is personal. Marcus said nothing. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. Excuse me. He walked outside. Elena watched him through the glass. His posture changed. His shoulders tightened. He spoke quietly. Yes. A pause. No. She doesn't know. Elena's eyes widened. He turned his back. I said she doesn't know. Then he ended the call. Elena stood completely still. Who didn't know? And what didn't she know? That evening, Marcus came home with flowers. 12 white roses. He placed them on the kitchen counter. I owe you an apology. Elena looked at him. You do. I wasn't ready to tell you the truth yesterday. What truth? Marcus took a breath. Then his phone rang again. He stared at it. This time, Elena saw the name. Daniel. Her brother. Marcus answered. Daniel. Elena's stomach tightened. She listened as Marcus spoke. Tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock. Then he hung up. Elena stared at him. What does my brother have to do with you? Marcus said nothing. Marcus. He finally looked at her. You'll know tomorrow. That answer only made everything worse. The following morning, Elena arrived at Daniel's house. He was standing outside before she even knocked. What's going on? Daniel looked nervous. Elena, come inside. On the dining table was a large folder. Marcus was already there. Elena stopped in the doorway. What is this? Marcus stood. His expensive suit looked strangely out of place beside Daniel's modest dining room. I need you to sit down. I've been sitting down for 12 years. Marcus's jaw tightened. Elena? She remained standing. No more secrets. Marcus looked at Daniel. Daniel nodded. Marcus opened the folder. Inside were documents, property records, bank statements, foundation papers, and one photograph. Elena picked it up. It was a picture of her mother, taken outside the hospital where she had spent her final months. Elena's face changed. What does my mother have to do with this? Marcus sat down. Everything. He explained that 3 years earlier, Elena's mother had left behind a small community center in her South Side neighborhood. The center had struggled financially after her death. Elena had wanted to save it, but she never had enough money. Marcus had secretly bought the building, not in his own name. He had placed it into a charitable foundation. Elena stared at him. You bought the center? Marcus nodded. Your mother's name is still on the building. She looked at Daniel. You knew? Daniel nodded. For almost 2 years. Elena's voice broke. Why didn't anyone tell me? Marcus leaned forward. Because I wanted to give you something that couldn't be measured by a price tag. Elena shook her head. You pretended to forget our anniversary for this? No. Marcus paused. I pretended to forget because I wanted you to believe I had forgotten. Elena stared at him. That makes no sense. It does when you see the rest. Marcus slid another document across the table. Elena read it. Then she stopped breathing for a moment. The foundation wasn't simply maintaining the center. It was expanding it. There were plans for a technology lab, a scholarship program, a women's business incubator, and a childcare facility. All named after her mother. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Why? Marcus smiled sadly. Because when I had nothing, you believed in me. He looked at her. I wanted to build something that would help other people believe in themselves. Elena slowly sat down. But there was still something she didn't understand. Then why all the secrecy? Marcus's expression changed. Because I made a mistake. What mistake? I thought I knew what you wanted. He looked down at his hands. I thought money could solve everything. Elena remained silent. Marcus continued. I kept building bigger companies, bigger houses, bigger accounts, and somewhere along the way, I started believing that providing for you meant I didn't have to listen to you. Elena's eyes hardened. That is exactly what happened. Marcus nodded. I know. The room became quiet. Then Elena noticed another document, a resignation letter. She looked at Marcus. What is this? He didn't answer. She picked it up. It was addressed to the board of Reed Horizon Technologies. Marcus was stepping down as CEO. Elena looked at him in disbelief. You're leaving your company? Yes. Why? Because the board has been pushing me to turn the company into something I don't recognize anymore. He explained that investors wanted massive layoffs and the closure of several community technology programs. Marcus had resisted. The board had threatened to remove him. So you're choosing the foundation? No. He looked directly at Elena. I'm choosing who I want to be. That sentence hit her harder than anything else. For years, Elena had watched her husband become wealthier, but she had also watched him become busier, more guarded, more distant. The man who once listened to her for hours now answered emails while she spoke. The man who once celebrated small victories now measured everything in millions. She realized the anniversary wasn't really about a forgotten date. It was about a marriage that had quietly changed. Elena stood. You hurt me. I know. You embarrassed me. I know. You made me believe I didn't matter. Marcus's eyes became wet. You matter more than anything. Elena shook her head. Then show me. Marcus didn't move. Those 3 words landed between them. Not as a demand for another gift. Not as a request for money. As a challenge. Show me. For the first time in years, Marcus understood exactly what his wife meant. Love wasn't supposed to be something he purchased. It was something he practiced. That night, Marcus canceled every meeting on his calendar. He and Elena went back to the restaurant he had ignored 2 nights earlier. The private room was still available. The same lemon cake waited on the table. The candles were smaller now. The flowers were beginning to wilt. But Elena smiled when she saw them. Marcus pulled out her chair. I should have done this 2 days ago. She sat. Yes. He sat across from her. I don't expect you to forgive me because I bought a building. I won't. He nodded. I don't expect you to forgive me because I'm stepping down. I won't. He smiled faintly. So what do I do? Elena looked at him. Start by listening. Marcus reached across the table. This time Elena took his hand. But she wasn't finished. There is one more thing. What? I don't want the center to be just your gift to me. Marcus listened. I want to run the women's business program. He smiled. Then run it. And I want Daniel involved. Daniel, who had quietly joined them, nearly choked on his water. Wait, what? Elena laughed for the first time in days. You heard me. Marcus laughed too. For the first time in years, the 3 of them sat together without discussing money, stock prices, or business deals. They talked about family. They talked about Elena's mother. They talked about the future. and slowly, something began to change. Not overnight, not magically, but honestly. Months later, the center opened. Hundreds of people gathered outside the renovated building. Children ran through the new technology lab. Women walked into the business incubator carrying notebooks, ideas, and dreams. A large bronze plaque hung near the entrance. It carried Elena's mother's name. Elena stood beside it wearing a simple cream dress. Marcus stood beside her. He was no longer CEO, but he looked lighter. Daniel had joined the foundation as its operations director, and Elena had become the leader of the Women's Entrepreneurship Program. Before the ribbon cutting, Marcus leaned toward Elena. "Happy anniversary," she smiled. "You're only 6 months late," he laughed. "Worth the wait?" Elena looked around at the people filling the building. Then she looked at her husband. "This is better than flowers." Marcus nodded. "And next year?" "Next year," Elena said. "You remember the date." He smiled. "I will." But Elena knew something Marcus didn't. She had kept the old anniversary card he had never given her. She had placed it inside the silver frame beside their wedding photograph. Not because she wanted to remember the pain, because she wanted to remember the moment their marriage changed. A marriage couldn't survive on money. It couldn't survive on beautiful houses, expensive gifts, or impressive titles. It survived when two people were willing to look at each other and say, "I see you." Marcus had spent years building a billion-dollar company. But Elena taught him that the greatest thing a person can build isn't an empire. It's a life that still has room for love. And sometimes, the person standing beside you isn't asking for more. They're simply asking you to remember why you chose them in the first place. If Elena had been in your position, would you have forgiven Marcus after everything he did? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you, subscribe and stay with us for more stories about love, betrayal, family, and second chances. Because Elena learned something that night that she would never forget. You can lose money and build it again. You can lose a title and earn another. But when you lose the trust of someone who believed in you before the world did, rebuilding that is the greatest work of all.